Hi, welcome to Breaking Free Fridays. I'm Kara, and I'm so glad to have you here. Oh, welcome back if you've been following the series. And I wanted to talk today about how to stop sabotaging ourselves. This is a really interesting one because so much of self-sabotage has unique attributes in terms of each person's individual patterns and wounding and things of that nature. But there is what I believe to be a fairly universal aspect to it that I think applies to pretty much anyone. And so that was what I was inspired to talk about today and to share a little bit more in terms of some really powerful opportunities for up-leveling and that next step of empowerment. So one of the things that this is connected to is this concept of misery loves company. It's something that we deal with a lot in our cultures and society, familial conditioning, and part of it goes back to those experiences where it's just easy to get wrapped up in drama. I mean, think about even a lot of the most successful movies and shows, and some of those storylines and themes where we're really mesmerized by what's happening in somebody else's life, and sometimes that's almost like a distraction from our own internal world, and focusing on what our opportunities are for our own growth and our own life experiences. And sometimes it's about our desire to want to try to fix something for someone or make it better. And that's something we want to be careful about, because that can quickly get into codependency territories. But the other piece is this misery loves company. It's almost like there's a baseline where instead of really feeding off of each other's excitement and joy and happiness and milestones, often there's almost like this contest about comparing how bad things are, or what kind of crap we're dealing with, and that really just keeps everybody lower. It's like this domino of energy that's like building this snowball that picks up on more snow and then creates this avalanche that's not really going in the direction that we want, right? One of the things that is such a simple example, but I think it's really really profound, and this is something I've noticed in my own journey, and if I think about the times that somebody's asked me, "How are you?" and so often I've downplayed that. Like I've just decided to respond with, "Oh, I'm okay. It's okay." Just really kind of mediocre. And, in some cases, I might be trying to be okay when I'm feeling worse. But in most cases, I'm downplaying when I'm doing really well, or I'm doing good. And I noticed that this actually can be part of a pattern of trying to make sure that I am not making somebody else feel bad, or like maybe they don't feel very good, and I don't want to point something out and make them feel worse. But in essence, that's actually making me smaller, and it's holding space for the other person to stay smaller. So it's something that we really have an opportunity to step into as far as building greater levels of emotional set points, higher frequency set points. And what I mean by that is each emotion has a corresponding level of frequency. And it's it's correlated with a level of consciousness. If you haven't heard of or read this book, it's called Power versus Force. It's by Dr. David Hawkins, and it is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. But it actually, it maps all of this out and talks a lot about how there's these opportunities with energy that's behind these frequency levels that exist, and how they parallel between levels of consciousness and types of emotions. And as you can imagine, joy and bliss, peace, love, those types of things are on the higher end of the scale. So the more we can build ourselves into creating that as more of a default for our emotional set point, the more resilient we are, for one thing, in terms of if stuff is happening and shit's hitting the fan. But it also, it shines more light. We're able to create space for others to meet us in that greater place of joy. And one of the things that in exploring this topic, that's pretty universal around the sabotage, is where can we invite ourselves to expand, to play more full out in our authentic selves, and what does that look like? So, I'm not suggesting that we bypass anything. I'm not suggesting that we pretend anything, because if there is something else that's going on, and it does happen to be a lower frequency emotion, it's really important to acknowledge that and to give yourself space to process it and release it, so that it's not holding you back or anchoring you into patterns that you don't want to perpetuate. But one of the things that you can do over time to really, generally speaking, keep yourself at that higher vibrational set point is to build in a practice where you are re-experiencing, re-feeling incredible times of great gratitude, things that you're grateful for even in the moment. But you can re-experience incredible memories or milestones, dreams and visions that you have. The key here is, if you find yourself getting pulled into a place where there's a lot of resistance and you feel more the lack of it not existing, as opposed to the absolute bliss of knowing that it's coming in right divine timing, and you don't have to worry about the how, because your continued practice to support the creation of that dream or that vision will bring inspired inputs and actions at right timing. So as long as you can keep that feeling in a really joyful place, you'll keep building, and you'll find that it will almost feel like magic, that one day life just feels easier because your set point's higher. And so you're not being drugged down as low. And that not only is an incredible place of empowerment for each of us, but it holds space to help those that we love and those around us to come along to a better viewpoint. It's like flipping the script on being sucked into those sabotaging thoughts that seem innocent, but they domino. It's like that avalanche that we were talking about before, which is really interesting. So, if you find yourself struggling to find things to be grateful for, sometimes, it can be as simple as being grateful for the air that you're breathing, or a wonderful bite of food that you enjoy, or a simple thing of enjoying, petting your dog or your cat, or a smile from a stranger. It doesn't have to be something massive. The key is that it's something that you internally relate to and that you can feel within your own body, your own emotional place. One of the other things that I think is so important in this topic too, that I've found in my journey that's been a pretty profound piece. People talk a lot about we're not responsible for other people's emotions. And that is absolutely true. We're not. I mean, we have influence, we have impact, but truly, our own emotions and our reactions and our responses to things, those are our own invitations, sometimes invitations for healing. They are our own responsibility. They are our own side of the fence, if you will. And sometimes it does not feel like that. Sometimes it feels like there's absolute justification that no, this person made me feel that way. Anybody would feel that way if such and such happened. Or if this person did that to anybody else, they would be feeling the same way. Well, there might be some universal truth and a common feeling or common reaction or response to something. However, those are all invitations and opportunities for healing and embracing and migrating and progressing into a new level of empowerment, a new level of emotional set point, a new level of mindset, higher perspective, a new level of consciousness. And so be gentle with yourself, because oftentimes, these things, they feel very like hijacked in the moment. But the more you keep working through these opportunities for progress, the more you'll just see this beautiful progression into a new state of being that almost feels like all of a sudden one day it's like, oh, how did that happen? It's like magic. But you were working it little by little, day by day, persistency with persistency, and that's where that beauty comes into play. So I just am so honoring you in your journey, and I celebrate you in breaking free of self-sabotage, and wherever you might be able to see a flicker of patterns that are coming forward for you to work through and heal and come into greater alignment with your authentic self. And even these simple things that we talked about today, where you can flip the script on perspective, where you can find opportunities to engage in greater levels of happiness and gratitude and joy, where you can also embrace your own invitations for healing based on what you're seeing or what you're being triggered by. So those are all really amazing opportunities. And there was one other thing I really wanted to mention, and it has to do with the opportunity of disengaging from negatively spiraled momentum that might happen in certain conversations, or even in your own process of trying to move from what is existing in your current reality to where you want to be. Because the more that we focus on what's currently happening that we don't like, we get more of that. And so how do you stack the deck in your corner without like putting your head in the sand and ignoring the reality of what's going on? One of the examples that I wanted to give, and this is pretty timely because of the U.S. Just having our election for 2024, and there's a lot of heightenedness around the results, regardless of what somebody's political visions are or where they align. Let's say somebody tries to pull you in to a conversation that really feeds things like anger or fear or grief or areas that maybe you're not necessarily going into that on your own accord, but you can still be supportive of another person. And let's say they're trying to talk to you. Well, what do you think about this? How do you feel? And instead of engaging in something that might snowball into an area that gets really sticky and may make it more difficult for you to maintain those higher vibrations, be like, yes, this, gosh, I'm still processing all of this. It's such a big deal, and I just need to take some time to really let it all land. And that way you're honoring the person, you're engaging in the conversation, but you're also creating a boundary that prevents some kind of a snowballing into that drama zone or into an area of negative spiral that's not really benefiting either person, you or the other person. Another scenario, let's say there's something, your kids aren't doing their chores in a timely manner, for example, and it's really like eating you up and you're not happy about this. But that's kind of the reality, but you don't want to keep feeding that reality. You want to shift it. So instead of focusing on how that's not happening, keep reminding yourself of the examples for when it has happened, how it is happening, how it feels when that's happening, and then do your best to disentangle or detach from the cases where it's not showing up in the way that is you would like to see. So those are just some other examples that might be helpful as you explore some of these concepts and how they fit in your own life and how they might serve you in your journey to greater levels of empowerment. And if you like this video, please subscribe, send a like, or I'd love to hear any comments that you have, how this might be playing out in your journey and examples that have worked for you as you've been breaking free of self-sabotage. So I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.